Welcome guys. So you want to know the difference between ABO and CBO campaigns and which one you should use. So it's fairly simple and we're going to go over each one. First point we're going to start with is ABO campaigns, which in its full definition is ad set budget optimization. So this is where you handle everything. Think of it as you are the person driving the car and the car is called ABO. You're the person manning the car and everything from creatives, new testing campaigns, and whatever it is that you're trying to do, you're the one who has it in the back, right? You're dealing with everything. And I want us to go over the pros and cons of using this particular setup, right? With ABO campaigns, you usually launch a new campaign, and through that campaign, there's a bunch of different ad sets and new creatives that you're trying to launch. You're the one who allocates the budget for each and every campaign. So if you have a $5,000 set budget for that particular campaign, each creative, you're going to have to separate it according to how much you think it's going to get and spend, right? And so the pros of this is that you have overall control. You are not trusting anyone else to do the work but yourself. So you know what you're doing, or at least you have to know what you're doing when you're trying to get into ABO campaigns, because you're the one doing all the work. Something I also want to add to the pros list is the fact that it's much easier to do creative testing on ABO campaigns. This is something we're going to see a bit more when we go to CBO, and how it might be a little difficult for other brands or other people, right? With ABO campaigns, it's straightforward. You just launch a new ad set for creative testing. And in that ad set, again, you allocate the budget, and again, you have to be the person guarding everything. So it does require you to clock in every single day, which is a con that we move on to, is the fact that time will be consumed through ABO campaigns, because you're the one who's going to have to check if creatives are getting spent or not. Is it worth it keeping a creative on, or is it worth it to increase budget, and so on and so forth? You're the one handling everything. So if things fail, most likely you are the person who did not check your stats correctly, you did not switch off campaigns properly. It's fairly simple. And something I already alluded to with the whole time being consumed inside of that little short passage is the fact that you control everything. So if a creative takes more of the budget than it should, it is your fault. So you need people that are going to be hands-on. And now, something I want to specify. This does not mean ABO is bad. ABO has a use. Something I said earlier on my social media platforms is the fact that we're hearing a lot in terms of what to do and what not to do from gurus that have done it and everything in between, right? There is no set way in which you should do things on Meta or Meta ads that will get you to a set goal. There is no one-way path. These are all tools. So ABO, as much as it has its constraints, it has its benefits, and we're going to get into those benefits a little later on in the video, so stick around. CBO campaigns stand for Campaign Budget Optimization. Now, back to that little analogy on you being the person driving a delivery truck. In this case, you're not in the truck, nor are you the driver. Rather, Facebook is the driver, and the truck has all your creatives, and Facebook decides when to give more budget to a certain campaign or whether not to. So if you have CBO campaigns, what you usually do and what you will do is that you set budget on the campaign level only, and then Facebook will distribute that budget according to which creative is performing. So let's say you launch 2 creatives in a retention campaign, right? And those 2 creatives, Facebook themselves decide on which one is getting the most eyes or click-through rates, and says we're going to allocate more budget to that particular one because it has higher chances of getting spent. And if the other one is not performing, they reduce budget from that. It's fairly easy. Now, the pros of this is the fact that time is saved. You don't have that stress you'd normally have when it comes to ABO, having to check in every single day. You get other things done. Though, I will specify, it does pay off, not just physically you giving another person money. It does pay off in the long run having people manage your ads. It makes the job easier. You can focus on much more important parts of your business, but it saves you time if you are handling it yourself. And something that I love about CBO campaigns is it induces competitiveness in the creative environment. So let's say you launch a new creative today. You've had a creative that's been running for over 2 months, and you just recently launched a new creative. What's going to happen is, in that little short period of time, there's going to be some form of competitiveness where this new creative is going to try and get more spend to it. So then Facebook is going to try and push this one out so that there's competitiveness among the 2 creatives. or campaigns, however you launch them, right? And that makes, in some cases, in best case scenario, of course, it allows you to increase spend on both. So now that they're fighting against each other, each one is trying to see which one can get more spend. And something else, it reduces your chances of having a creative that does not get any spend drinking up the budget. It increases your chances of that not happening, in case you didn't hear me. So you've launched a creative, you're testing new creatives, probably acquisition campaigns, and you've tried this new style or this new format, maybe static ads or VSLs. Cool. And they're just not working. And let's say you're incredibly busy. You might not have that time to check in on it to see that it's bleeding you money close to thousands and thousands of dollars in the next 3 days. You might not see that, but with CBO campaigns, what happens is that fact that as soon as Meta sees this, they reduce ad budget on that particular ad so that you do not spend more money than you have to, and gives it to other creatives that are doing well. And I know what you're thinking. Right now, you heard CBO is good and so on and so forth. It's what we normally prefer. It's what we do with our clients. It's what we're going to do with our clients continuously. But again, this is not the only way. These are tools. And I alluded to this earlier. Here's what I mean. Each tool has its own benefits in certain scenarios. And these are the scenarios. If you're a big ticket brand, I'm talking your product is close to $1,000 plus. Most cases, ABO is good for you. I say this because with CBO, because Facebook does everything for you, they have, I like to call it an AI. I believe it's an AI. The algorithm picks up on certain things, right? And with CBO, if you have a higher ticket product, you may try CBO campaigns, but because your purchase rate is not as fast as say, a brand that has a $30 product, the algorithm is going to have a hard time picking up on the necessary information it needs to distribute your product properly. So then ABO doesn't work as well for high ticket brands, but it does work well for lower ticket because the purchase rate is a bit higher. So then information is gathered quickly. So that's one instance where ABO campaigns are easier. Creative testing as well can be easier there, where you want full control on ads, where you want to scale an ad independently. ABO is for you. That it makes the job much simpler. But CBO as well has its cons. I didn't really include this, but with CBO, as I said, it's better when you're using it with lower ticket products. It's easier, it's faster in terms of information gathered. But some brands find it hard when they're trying to do creative testing. Now, of course, in this moment, I'm going to solve this problem for you. But each tool is good for certain scenarios. As I said, creative testing can be done a lot better on ABO. This, of course, is subjective to each and every person. I also sometimes feel that creative testing is much easier on CBO rather than ABO. So it's a give or take. There's no set way. But with CBO, as I was saying, when you do creative testing, and this is something most people have complained about, that when they do creative testing, they find it very hard. They don't know what to do. So what you should do is, first things first, and in most cases, when they do it, it tanks. So let me continue. When you do it, go to your daily minimums, right? Ad minimums. Instead of it being on a percentage rate, set it on a dollar rate. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna multiply your cost per acquisition by 1, and you're gonna put that number there. There's a small little box where you can insert the number. You're gonna insert that number there. And what's gonna happen is, let's say you have a product that costs, in terms of acquisition, $50. What's gonna happen is when you're launching a new testing campaign or ad set for testing, you're gonna have this graph that's gonna be, should I say, constant. If there is no spend on it, if there isn't enough spend, it's gonna stay constant. But if there is spend, it's gonna skyrocket. If there is no spend on it, it remains constant. So it reduces you losing money unnecessarily. That is what makes the job easier. But again, I want to emphasize this so much. There is no better option. These are all tools. They are better in certain scenarios. So don't outright and say, I'm going to use CBO campaigns only, and I know I'm going to scale my business to 8 figures, 9 figures. No, I mean, you can, obviously, but maybe in your business's current condition, that wouldn't be the smartest of plays. Maybe you need to micromanage certain things. Maybe you have a winning ad and you should individually try and scale that ad. It goes into so many different plays. So take that into consideration, and I hope this video was useful for you guys. Peace and love. I'll see you on the next one.